This question is going to be a fun one. We are just starting the home buying process, so I'm not quite ready to talk to a lender yet. How do I know how much I can afford for a home? This comes from Liam D. in Laguna Niguel, California. Before I took this question, I brought up a little screen share on my computer about how much you can afford for a home. Now, between you and I, Liam, this is probably well under what you can afford in Laguna Niguel. I don't know what the average sales price is in Laguna Niguel, but I know it's higher than $1 million. But this is assuming that you make 340,000. You're getting a 30-year loan. The interest rate is about 6.5%. You've got $3,500 in existing debt payback. Maybe that's like car payments and insurance and all of that fun stuff. Your down payment's going to be 20%. Property tax is going to be somewhere around, I would say, 0.9% is probably a better example. HOA or co-op fee is going to be $3,500 per year. Insurance is going to be just shy of 1%. So if we calculate this, this is saying that you can afford a $985,000, $487 home based on a $340,000 salary before taxes, all of that stuff. That would be gross number. What most banks go by is what they call the 28 to 36 rule, which they actually state up here, which is where these assumptions are coming in. And all that means is front end debt to income ratio is 23%, back end is 36%. So think of that as more like, net versus gross is what they're looking at. If you wanted like a really, really, really simple, way that you could afford the home, I would forecast somewhere between, I would just say 30%, of your monthly disposable income should go towards housing. It's crazy out of whack right now. Like everything is crazy out of whack, I will tell you, right? The most accurate way for you to get clarity over what, how much you can afford is I would call a lender. Now, just because you call a lender, they don't need to run your credit, right? Credit is nothing more than helping them understand that based on your debt load and the score, can you pre-qualify or pre-approve for that loan? That's something totally different. If you call a lender that you trust, and we're happy to give you referrals in Southern California as well. If you call a lender that you trust and say, hey, here's my, monthly gross income. My wife works, I work. We think our FICO score is somewhere around 715. We use Credit Karma and we're looking that up, and that's the number. We've got this amount of debt. Can you give us a preliminary number of what you think it's going to take to buy a home? And they're going to ask you like, well, how much can you put down? Is it like 5%, 10%, 20%? Does it qualify for FHA? What type of lending is out there? And they're going to be able to have like a really, really good conversation with you up front. And that's going to give you a really good idea of like where a starting point is. Now, where I see a lot of people go wrong with this is they have that initial conversation. They're like, cool, that's it's written in stone. Let's go. And then they do the entire process. And right as they're writing the offer, they call the lender really quick. And they're like, hey, we found our dream home. It's awesome. Like, remember how we had this conversation like 3 months ago? Okay, cool. We need a pre-approval letter. And the lender's like, well, hold on. Like, we need to verify income. We need to verify employment. And we need to run your credit. That's going to take a day or two. At that point, it adds unnecessary stress to the process. So we don't want to do that. What we can do, though, is have that initial conversation and at least be aware of what the lending programs that lender has access to and the price point and the city that you're looking to buy. The most stressful part of buying a home in Southern California, by far over everything else, is lending. It's not the home. It's not the inspection. It's not the viewing process. It's nothing else. It is always lending. And because lending is not something that we can see and feel and get excited about, people tend to drag their feet with it. They're not very quick. In fact, our most successful clients that we've worked with back since 2007, when we first started selling real estate, the ones that have the most amount of success are the ones that are most financially prepared to buy the homes. The ones that are stressful, it's not because of the home inspection or all that stuff. It's because financing was very loose or they were like right on the borderline, which is fine. If you're on the borderline of affording a home, that's cool. Like we can go to battle. We'll get it done for you. But the more that you can get this done and the more you can be prepared up front, the easier this process is going to be. So you can go and you can look at as many of these mortgage calculators you can get your hands on and kind of get a feel of like, hey, this is how much I make. This is how much I can probably put down. I think we put 20% down, right? You can get, even if I think if we change this to dollars, and let's say you've got, $300,000 in the bank that you can put down. Now that 300,000 based on income and all that, that gets us $1,069,638, give or take, right? So play with this. This is not something that I would like as the Godfather would say, like, I wouldn't take this to the mattress by any means, but I definitely, this would give me a head start and at least starting that initial research process of what it looks like to purchase a home. And I think it's totally okay to call like 3 or 4 lenders and get their opinion on all across the board and find out who you feel has the best products, who you feel has the best process. The best process is probably the most important part. Terrible process leads to terrible results, right? Doesn't matter what the rate is if they can't get the loan closed, right? So it's okay to talk to 3 or 4 lenders and, drill them on questions. It's okay to talk to 3 or 4 real estate agents and drill them on questions to make sure that everything you need is getting access. But I would look at those, then I would talk to a lender, and then I would make the decision from there.